wants that currency.
Hi! You reached Lesko Free Radio. What else you got to do now? Well, hang in there because we have a heck of a show. Today we have four live guests, not fresh frozen, not taped or anything. These are live in the studio, on the phone. There'll be four of them. So we'll be right back, and you stay there. Most people sit around their kitchen table trying to solve their financial problems, but they never seem to get solved because they always wind up costing more money. But it doesn't have to be that way if you learn how to use the system. There are thousands of government programs that will help you with your financial problems for free. Don't pay for someone to help you with your debt or mortgage problems when you can get it for free. Don't pay for someone to help you with your business or invention if you can get that for free. Don't pay for career counseling or resume writing. Don't pay for healthcare or prescription drugs. And don't pay for going back to school if you can get that for free too. You know all about the people out there who are charging you thousands of dollars to help you with your financial problems because they're spending millions on advertising. What you don't know about is the free services from the government because they don't spend a nickel on advertising. But I can show you how to find them. So why not use the free stuff first? Isn't it dumb to pay for something that you could get for free? Isn't it dumb to pay? People call me dumb too, especially those high school teachers that, Lesko, you never amount to anything, And I thought my middle name in school was sit down. Sit down, Lesko, sit down, And if they only took me, I didn't realize they have an ants in my pants like this. I make millions of dollars acting foolish on TV, If someone said I can make money out of doing that, but no, I was just a pain in their butts. But today, it's a very special show. Listen, a lot of people make fun of the government. I know all about that. I do too, just to get your attention. But it's real serious stuff. And I think, we have today two great guests in the studio. One is Daryl Brown, director of the Small Business Development Centers. And the other one is Theodore Holloman, who's the deputy district director for the Small Business Administration, Washington, D.C. Now, the business development centers in our country, there's thousands of them around the country. And I think, and they're run by the SBA and they get other funding too, but they are probably the most valuable thing that this country has to offer. If there's one thing that you should know that is available in this country, are these services. Now, they're in the studio. We're going to spend some time with them. And then after we talk to them, we have an entrepreneur here who I met just a few days ago. There's a great coffee shop in Washington, D.C. called Tryst over in Adams Morgan. I hang out there a lot, and they asked me to come down to be a judge for a latte contest. So who makes the best latte in Washington, D.C.? And that was fun. I met this guy there who's a small business trying to grow his business, and he's going to come in after we talk to Daryl and Theodore, and we're going to try to give him some advice or no advice or tell him he's got stupid ideas or whatever the heck. We'll see what happens. But first, we got Shane on the line. Where's Shane? Are you there? You hear me, Shane?
I can.
Yeah. Now, Shane, I don't know if you've been here the last couple of weeks. Shane has a great app. It's an iGrant app, and you go to iGrantApp.com. And it's like $1.50 or $2 or whatever. And he's got a lot of my stuff on it too. But Shane is also involved in economic development. So he's a government employee, who gets money to help his folks, out in the middle of Texas, wherever he is. And last time he told us about the revolving loan funds, which are great, man. It's loans for small businesses and businesses that can't get money anywhere else. And we covered that last weekend. And Shane, you're going to show us how to get houses for free today, right?
I am, yes. There's a program out there that may be able to help people get a home for free.
I love that word, man.
So how that works is that HUD has a program, and they'll give a grant to like a local city or housing authority, and then what happens then is the housing authority or the city will go down and tear down the house. That somebody lives in, and they build you a new one. And if you live there for 5, then the person moves back in. Mm-hmm. And if you live there for 5 years, you own it. Now there's special stipulations. In order to apply for a new house, you have to be of low income or low to moderate income.
Where you live, what does that run at about that income?
Yeah, I believe it's 80% of whatever the average income is.
What was that? 80%? So if the average income is 50 grand, then somebody making 40 grand would be eligible, right?
That's correct. Yes. Uh-huh.
And so what are the other requirements?
All right. So then the house that they currently live in has to be a substandard structure, which means that maybe the roof is leaking, or maybe the windows are all shot out, or something like that.
So it's substandard. Now that's a key word for like it's screwed up or what?
Yeah, really, there's international building codes, but it's pretty much if you feel like you live in a substandard house, you probably do. So
it'd be too expensive to bring it up to code and all that kind of stuff. Is that what you mean?
Right. That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And so the best way to approach this if someone is interested in a free house is to go to their local city hall and ask if there's if they have this grant called HOME, HOME, from HUD.
So it's money that's come out of the HUD HOME, HOME program. So you go to City Hall, ask them about it. So in other words, so if you're at that a little below the average income, your house is beat up, it needs a lot of work. So you would go around and ask maybe your local housing authority or your City Hall or even the state housing authority or something like that. I guess, I don't know about you, Shane, but do you ever as a backup just call your elected official and have them do some work for you? Or?
Yeah, well, and really the secret to a lot of it is local.
Yeah.
A lot of your federal and state money flows through your city government.
Yeah.
And then the city government will distribute the money how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So in order to get that money, sometimes you just have to ask.
Right. They're not coming and knocking on your door, are they?
That's correct, yeah.
Now, you told us last week about this guy. You had to give out money, or they had to give out money so much, and so this guy, the entrepreneur, got a deal like a 0.5% interest loan for 20 years or something like that because they, no one was asking for this stuff in the revolving loan fund.
Right, yeah, because, this money has to be spent. Once it gets to the city, they have so long to spend it. If they don't spend it, it goes back to the federal government.
Right. So, in other words, we got to go out there and help these poor little bureaucrats make quota, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's a nice problem, but the opportunities are out there. I mean, that's and it takes some digging, and that's why I appreciate you, Shane, about knowing this stuff. I guess you, as being part of economic development in that area of the country, are digging around for these programs all the time, aren't you, to help your neighbors? We
are, and I've been doing this for 7 to 8 years, and every year there's either something new or something that I discover anyway.
Right. It keeps changing. Well, thank you so much, Shane. And let's go to the iPad logo again so we see Shane's iPad. It's a neat little iGrantApp.com. And take a look at Shane's app there. And I guess
Thanks
it's for
for
more
tuning into Lesko Free Radio. I hope you enjoy this show because I enjoy doing it. And if you want to learn how to start using these programs, listen, I set up a free webpage called UncleLesko.com. You can go there right now and download the 5 best grants just for your state. So that's UncleLesko.com. Go there now, get the 5 best grants for your state, and start taking advantage of the stuff now. You know why? Because it's free.
Also, we're going to take your calls later on the show and answer your questions. We'll answer anything. Man, I could show you a source of money and free help to do almost anything you want to do in life. So what you do is you call 202-643-9006. That's 202-643-9006. And if you don't get through for some reason or the show time runs out, you can always send an email. Boop, did I say that right? Email me at letsgofreeradio@gmail.com. That's letsgofreeradio@gmail.com. So we want to answer your questions. So call or write. Oh, please. That's us already. Well, we got our 2 guests back, in the studio. I guess it's a studio. Yep. Daryl Brown, director of the Small Business Development Center, here in Washington, D.C. Actually, he's right across the street, but it's not a work day for him. So if it was a work day, it would have been an easy walk.
That's all right. Happy to be here with you.
Thank you. And Theodore Holloman. Now, he's the deputy, I was going to say district attorney, but deputy district director for the Small Business Administration of Washington, D.C.
Hold on. I'm the deputy district director of the Washington Metropolitan Area District Office. You gave me a raise.
Oh, really?
Oh, man,
and not the money, huh?
No, not the money. And as it stands out, I'm the acting director at this point in time.
Oh, really? So you're acting director for the SBA in the Washington area?
Correct, sir.
Where's that office? That L Street office?
We're down in H and 15, the American Bar Association building. About 3 or 4 blocks from the White House.
Well, what happened to the director? Wasn't there a woman?
Yes, Bridget Bean. Bridget Bean got kicked upstairs.
She
did?
did?
60-day detail.
I see.
At this point, I think she's wearing 2 or 3 hats in headquarters.
I see.
And she may come back, and they may decide to keep her there.
Which means they'll keep you there?
Well, the agency will have its way.
I see. Well, as I said earlier, introducing you guys, man, I think, what the SBA does and particularly with the Small Business Development Center, man, there isn't a better deal in this country. That we have to offer citizens. I think that the expertise that is there. Everybody thinks of the SBA as, just SBA loans or whatever, but it's just so much more than that. And I think it gets, a bad rap because of, you've been around for so long. So I went actually on the website. Show this first thing. I went on your website, the Small Business Development Center. That's number 8. I got a lot of Forbes here, and I went on here, Daryl, and I was looking what you have, and on the front page.
Right, exactly.
I mean, you got this free.
Right.
There's a free course on how to get a government contract or a subcontract, right. And it's given by the Turner School of Construction. That's part of the university, right?
Well,
or is that part of you guys?
No, it's not part of the university. It's Turner. Construction.
I see. So they're the big time thing. I mean, the cranes I see all over.
They're a big time player.
Yeah.
And we're very, very fortunate and pleased to be able to host them at the School of Business.
Well, what I did next after I saw that, I went and Googled. Now, show me the next slide, number 9. I said, okay, if I wanted to learn how to get a small business contract or whatever like that, here's what they're charging for a private course.
Right.
$1,000, $1,095. Yeah. Right. So if I went on Google, this is what I'd be charging, And you, because you don't have that advertising money that these guys have because they're raking in a lot of money.
Right.
They're good. So when I saw these 2 things, when I went to the site, I said, well, what else? So show us the next one thing. I said, well, a lot of people thought, how do I get 8A certified? So I went and did a Google 8A certified. How do I get 8A certified? There they are, right there. Over here, special deal, $799 to get 8A certified.
Right.
What do you charge, Daryl?
We don't.
I'm sorry.
we don't. Our services, particularly our consulting services, are at no cost.
Right.
And we provide one-on-one consulting services to our clients.
Terrific.
And we also provide training, as you see, at no cost.
Let me another one or two, and we'll get the detail. Writing a business plan. Georgia here, he sent me a business plan that he has with it, and he may need some help with that. Maybe we'll help him. But I went down and said, okay, how much is it? If I Google how much is a business plan client? Okay, eHow, that place. Okay, here's what they say: $2,000 to $9,000 to help you write a business plan. And you charge what, Daryl?
No cost. Now let me be clear. We don't actually write the business plan for you, but what we'll do is we'll put a program of work together for you and structure it in a way that, because after all, it is your business plan. It's not.
Well, you have to almost do the same thing here with
these
guys.
we definitely do the same things that they do,
because
and we
they
also
have to do it.
Yeah, and we also provide market research. We do that market
that's the
research
key
analysis
thing
as
too,
well.
because a lot of people just don't know what that is or what they're doing. Okay, but another one here. Okay, if I want to do like sell overseas, I'm looking for a consultant or something like that. Okay, so I Googled how much consultants cost. $294 an hour. Right. And for a real junior person, it'd be $175 an hour. And if I call you guys, how much you could charge?
We have an international trade program that we've started, and we have trained consultants in international trade. and that's at no cost.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys have all the programs too. The government has programs that help you do that. So you're gonna. I mean, see, that's what I used to be. One of these guys who charge hundreds of dollars, and I go to these big companies, and I charge them $10,000. I come to you guys, get it all for free, and I put my name on it and sell it to them. You know, they're just lazy.
Now you know, Matthew. While this is about the SBDC at the Washington at the DC SBDC. Do want to make a plug for the greater network and all of our resources.
Oh, yeah. I get you. Yeah.
Now, basically, because we have such a strange area, we incorporate Washington, D.C., 2 counties of Prince George's, and then Northern Virginia.
Oh, I see. Really?
So basically, Darrell's group takes care of D.C. proper.
Right.
We have the University of Maryland that takes care of their SBDC, takes care of those 2 counties.
Well, what Darrell does here, it's all over the country. This is a national show.
And so basically we have George Mason taking care of Northern Virginia.
Right.
We also have SCORE counselors.
Right.
And basically they all provide the same services. We also have 2 women's business centers located in our area, one downtown at 727 15th Northwest, and we have one also located down in Springfield, Virginia. So combined, and he does a great job.
Right.
I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're not going to dump all the work on Darrell.
No, I appreciate it.
We're going to spread that work around.
An example, there's, I mean, SBDCs and all these other, there's a couple thousand of them all across the country. Yeah.
That's right. I think if I may make one quick point about the SBDCs, we are also the accredited organizations. We go through an accreditation process, and so our counselors are certified, and that's a difference between what we provide and some of the other service providers.
So, but I mean, like I want to get to SBA later. Let me just finish one more item with him. Invention. You know, I mean, this is what hurts my soul more than anything is that when I see these inventors wanted, call 1-800, let me screw you, or whatever the heck it is. And here, I mean, you go to these things. I mean, look at the data at the Federal Trade Commission investigating these people all the time. Right. And they'll charge up to $10,000-$12,000, to help you with your invention. Right. Now, you guys do that too, right?
Well, that's a real specialty area for us, and at this time, no, we're not doing that. But there are some SBDCs throughout the country that do that, but it's not a specialty for us at the moment.
Yeah. So if if my local SBDC doesn't happen, I could go to the SBA and find out probably somewhere else that through a SCORE or something like that.
Perhaps, but that is highly specialized, and I haven't come across one like that. When you were talking about, you spoke about inventions, I thought you were going down the STT or the SBIR program.
Oh, I see. No.
But
no, this is consumer stuff.
You may find a SCORE counselor who's taken a client or two through the patenting process, right. And we've seen people do that. Now, taking them through a patenting process, getting the patent, that whole 9 yards. I know that SCORE has done that. I don't know what your experience has been with that.
Well, I see some of the SBDCs specialize in it, because a lot of them are really there because they're trying to encourage high-tech companies and ideas, with technology.
Well, most likely out in California, I don't know. I can't confirm this or not, but I would speculate that many of the counselors in California, especially in that area, because you have that high tech and a lot of inventions and things that are happening there, they may have specialized consultants. Yeah.
Now I interviewed one guy up in see the areas of the country, that are losing all these manufacturing jobs. I mean, everybody thinks that, the hope is, some bright kid with an idea is going to set up another, Apple computer in their backyard or something like that. Right. But I think even Maryland, has a lot of that. They work with, inventors, young people with ideas. They help you through that process. Well, anyway, I mean, whether they have it or not, to me, it's just how do we get people to look for the options? I mean, one of the things that people, you get hit with a salesman and you think that that's your only option available. Right. And so people are spending the money and they spend 10 grand on somebody who doesn't know what the heck they're doing at all with that stuff. But actually, this thing I saw that is the application grant that you guys have to supply every year.
Right.
And I see that for import exporting. I mean, you got to have like 10% of your people have to be specialized in exporting.
That's right.
Well, what is the STEP program? I mean, you guys run that.
Well, basically, as you know, since the Obama administration has come into power, since the Obamas have been in power,
Michelle will like that, though.
yeah, give them both credit. But exporting has been one of the keys to his plan to turn the economy around. So basically, they've moved forward and tried on several fronts to spur American exports. And basically, STEP is State Export Program. States and the District of Columbia applied for and received grants. And basically, these grants were designed to, at a local level, give them the tools, at least give them the funding so that they can go about trying to enhance their exporting options. So you mentioned the SBDCs. Yes, they have that, but then on top of that, they've placed this new initiative into place, giving states up to a couple of $300,000, depends on which area.
Yeah.
Again, to spur that, working with other resource partners like the USIAC.
What's USIAC? What's that?
U.S. Export Assistance Center.
I see.
That's
Is that a SBA's thing? Or
well,
what?
basically, it's a collaboration between the Small Business Administration and Department of Commerce, and it's actually staffed by both of our personnel.
I see. ITA folks, those people.
And basically, the whole point there is try to get. Well, this was the initial step before this administration to have one-stop shopping, so that via the Department of Commerce, basically they had links overseas, so they can get a sense of what's happening overseas, what the needs were. And then you have the SBA people there also trying to help the local businessmen export. Plus,
or women. Or women.
Or women, sorry. Thank you. Keep me straight.
Michelle would like that.
She would like that. Plus, Department of Commerce have specific loan programs for exporting. As well as.
We always had that, right?
They always had that, but then SBA also has the applications of their programs that can also help exporting. So by having everybody in the same house, no matter which way you go, one of us is going to be able to help you. On top of that, we're now coming up with an export team. All the district offices within the SBA system have been tasked to come up with an export team to make us work together more tightly, to bring in, actually it's going to be the USIAC director, the district office director, an export finance specialist, the district office international trade officer, SBDC, and other resource partners will actually get together and form a plan for their given area.
What does that mean, like the entrepreneur? Hey, maybe my stuff.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what that means. Let me give you the timeline.
Yeah.
So this is a new initiative that's just being rolled out now. So basically, we have to identify the team members, take a head count, say who's going to be on the team by the end of April. We're supposed to hold a planning meeting by the end of this fiscal year, get everybody together. And the concept here is get everybody together, work together, and come up with this philosophy that when a client comes to us, there are no wrong doors. No matter how they intercept any of the partners, they get to where they need to go. What we see
for exporting, you mean?
For exporting.
Yeah, right.
What we see for next year is that we'll probably be tasked to hold specific events, reaching out to the community. This is a forming. Let's face it, we really don't even have a budget yet. So anyway,
nobody does.
And depending on which way sequestering goes. But basically, the plan is to form up now, and next year we'll be executing outreach events.
Now, the STEP program itself, I mean, that's funds that the states already have, right?
Well, this is the second year.
Second year.
Yes.
And is there funds there to help you, like, go to trade shows or something like that, do you know? Or what
well,
kind
basically, they have options.
How they use it, you mean?
Well, they have options. Now, they don't pay for someone to go, but they can do anything from just holding events, providing information, to sponsoring trade missions.
I see.
Okay, and I think D.C. has had 2 trade missions.
D.C. has had, right.
So now a trade mission means what, if I haven't done that before?
Well, a trade mission means is that the elected officials, the mayor, the deputy mayor of economic development, and others, the mayor's economic development team will get together. We'll also pool businesses that are interested in export, and take them abroad to another country, whatever that country may be. And there are introductions that are made in terms of how to do business within that particular
So you're getting
country.
Uncle Sam to open a door overseas to make a sales call.
To make a sales call and to develop relationships, because as you know, in order to effectively pierce sort of the veil of the international issues in terms of doing business, you have to have those relationships. And it's really important to develop those relationships so that you can sort of weed through the red tape.
And also, I guess I would think, I mean, it makes sense. If I got on playing my cell phone over and knocking on the door of some Capitol building, I ain't going to get very far.
And basically, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Commerce have officials stationed in the embassies around the world.
Right. Okay.
I mean, we're not from a farm belt area.
Right.
But that wheat doesn't get overseas by accident.
Right.
Okay? I mean, somebody's over there looking to see what the needs are, how we can leverage that. And basically, even though politicians often go, you can go without politicians.
I see.
The deal is to figure out what the needs are, match it up with potential exporters from our side, do some pre-screening, and the federal government will do that for you. Do the pre-screening.
That's what I mean. They check out the companies over there for you, right?
Well, a part of what we do is that we will check out companies here that are interested.
Oh, I see. So
in
you're
exporting.
looking for companies.
And we're looking for companies, and we go through a process to get them export ready. And then when we feel that they're export ready, then they are in a position now to really take advantage of a trade mission. And so there's a process that companies have to go through in order to get.
You need more than just a passport to do
this.
Yeah,
you need more than just a passport.
But you should always be cautious about this. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for the startup.
Yeah,
it's hard. Right. I mean, you can call your congressman when you're here, but when it's overseas, your congressman's not going to help you. So you really have to have your logistics, your finances. You have to be comfortable dealing in foreign currencies, letters of credit. It's a totally different world.
Right. But then that's what you guys really can do, help educate an entrepreneur. You're sitting here selling cowboy boots in Dallas and say, hey, Paris should have more cowboy boots.
Right. Well, one of the great things that you have in a city like Washington, D.C. and international cities is the fact that you have a lot of residents, a lot of citizens who have ties to another country. So they're familiar with the customs. They're familiar even with the geography, the locale.
So
they
you
know
get
who to
Asians
bribe.
coming into your office to sell stuff back to Asia.
Well, but that's only natural.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only natural.
Right.
You do what you know.
Right.
And then you branch out from there. So you have Asians selling stuff to, back to Asia.
Right.
You have Africans want to do something back in Africa.
Yeah.
You do what you know.
Yeah.
It makes better sense. Why do you steal? Well, why did Willie Sutton rob banks? Because
that's
where the money is. Okay, so
you're old enough to know that.
And we also have the opposite. We have we host at the School of Business through the DC SBDC delegations that come from various countries, and they're interested in doing business here. And so in coming here is the opposite of that. They want to meet businesses in the District of Columbia that are exporting. And so we're able,
exporting. So these are like reps or something over there looking for sources here.
Sometimes they're government officials. Sometimes they're bankers. So it all depends on the package that they put together. So what would be
I mean, you're talking about stuff that I would never even think of asking those questions. How the hell would you know to ask those questions? So if you were an entrepreneur in this country, then how would you best get the use out of you guys or whatever? I mean, most entrepreneurs say, if I need money, I'll go and help. But it's more than that. So how do you figure that out? Is it a...
Well, obviously, and Theo, you chime in here too as well. The first thing that I tell entrepreneurs is, one, educate yourself about your particular industry. I mean, you just can't willy-nilly walk into an industry and say, I'm here, I'm going to do business. You've got to educate yourself first. And through educating yourself, you will root out various resources, various organizations, to include SBDCs.
Right.
And once you've sort of identified those institutions and organizations, then it's up to the entrepreneur to be selective about, who they're going to access, who they're going to talk to, and then once once those doors are open, then it's sort of drilling down.
So it's again, most of us make a decision before we have all the information, right? But we need to do the other way around. So is there like a beginner's course or meeting or something like that, or like, I want to start a business, so that you don't say, hey, I want $500,000 because I have a great idea.
Well, let me give you an example. I have a bachelor's of business administration, 1974, Baruch College City. I'm 61 years old. Okay. So bottom line, when I was in college, I thought I was going to go start a business. I started reading at the time, Black Enterprise, which was about the only thing going. You didn't have Entrepreneur, you didn't have Inc., you didn't have all the... But I started reading what was available.
You went to City College, you said?
Yeah, City University of New York.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, if you're interested in this, you have to go, like Willie Sutton, you have to go where the money is. You have to start hanging out at our website.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? You have to start signing up for our newsletter.
Your website. See, the problem
well,
is,
hold on.
okay,
I'm about to go there.
Okay.
And as Darrell can attest, we're pushing an effort now where all of our resource partners load all of their information on our website. So by going to our calendar of events, you're going to see everybody in the area.
Like what?
Well, you were talking about exporting events.
Yeah.
We put on an exporting events. Well, we're coming up with a series. We're going to talk about hub zones, exporting, and we're just going to the series. But all of whatever it is, it's going to be on that calendar.
He's talking about also the training calendars that we're speaking about.
Events.
And the events that are on the training calendar. And so the DC SBDC has events on their training calendar. SCORE has events. The
Women's Business Center
has events.
So maybe that's the place to start. Look at these calendar events you go to.
Well, but that's just one thing.
That's one thing, right.
But one thing. But the other thing is start reading the SBA. I mean, the SBA website is a mile wide and 2 miles deep.
Right.
So when you have nothing to do, sometimes just start thumbing through it.
Yeah.
Right.
But the last thing is, with regard to exporting, and since we've had this little segment on exporting, always go with the low-hanging fruit. Which means basically after you've done everything you can do here and you're secure, okay? Don't prematurely go overseas. Your lines of communications get strung out. You know, your deliverables get strung out. You come into a whole level of complexity. After you've mined you know, have you gone national first? You know, have you gone regional first?
But see, Matthew, where it really starts is in the business plan. Okay, it really starts there.
Yeah, you're right.
Because if you have a product or service that you want to take beyond your locality, if you want to take it regionally or internationally, that has to be a part of your business plan. All right? And so it really starts there.
All those issues you're talking about, I mean, what they should do is sit down and plan that sucker first before they do anything. So if you're starting a business, the first thing, okay, I need help with a plan, right? Okay, so if you're in business for a while and you want to grow, I need help with a plan.
Right.
Absolutely. That's the key point.
Yeah.
Planning is just not for the beginner.
Right. So no matter what you want to do is come to you guys and say, hey, I need help with a plan.
Well, and you know,
that's one way to start.
And the great thing about the SBDCs and the other resource partners are, even if you've been in business for a while, you may want to diversify.
Right.
You may want to do a specific project. I want to regionalize. I want to nationalize. I may want to go international. But that's what you bring to the table. When you're starting a business, the business plan is absolutely key. Because if you don't have any prior experience, if you're light on money, all you have is blah, 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 blah. At least if you can put it on paper, someone can analyze it.
And that's, I would say that is the dumbest thing that an entrepreneur can do is think that he or she can get into business without having a business plan. That is your first mistake there. Well, and your second mistake there is thinking all I need is money.
Right.
Because sometimes that's the worst thing that you need.
I believe. I mean, I had a couple of businesses. I got an MBA, and first 2 businesses failed because I was doing all this stuff. And I mean, that's money is a trap, I think, because if somebody gives you a bunch of money, you're gonna blow it, and you don't know how to live.
Worse than that, and then you're gonna ball the money, and it's gonna be on you.
It's gonna be on you.
It's gonna be on you. It's gonna be on you.
And then you have to have an exit strategy, because we all know, most businesses fail within the first 5 years, or some of them don't even most of them don't even get off the ground. So what is your exit strategy? All right, even if you do get money.
Right.
What's your exit strategy?
No, I think to me the way to live now is you just plan for failure and do it without money. But anything happens is gravy, man. Right. And there's so many. Why pay if you get it for free? But the other things that are important, I think, that looks like you're actually. I went through the application where you have to apply, and it seems like what you guys are looking at this year for the small business development centers, besides the export stuff, but it's also stuff I don't even realize. Things like the base closure assistance that you guys are involved in. So many things that I never even heard about.
Well, one of the things that we're concentrating on, and the DC SBDC, as well as nationally, is our veterans. Our veterans are returning home, and many of them are looking to do something post-service.
Right.
And we're here to provide an avenue to help them in terms of they're looking to start their own business. So we have a national program. It's called Boots to Business.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, Theo and I have been working on that over the past couple
diligently.
of weeks.
Is it really? How is
that
that different than a normal person, though? I mean, that's just so many of these different programs.
Well, basically, have you ever been in the military?
Yeah.
Okay.
3 years, 2 months, and 9 days.
That's okay. I tried it for 20 years, decided I didn't like it.
I see. Oh, really? It took you that long.
Okay. Well, I'm slow. But basically, you remember somewhere towards the end, they said, okay, we're going to process you out.
Oh, yeah.
They sat
That's
you
where
down
I saw
said,
3 years, 2 months, and 9 days.
Okay, and then you're gone.
Yeah.
Well, over the years, I retired in 96. And when I retired, my out processing at that time was known as Transition Assistance Program.
Transition Assistance Program. Ah.
And it took about 2 days, if that much. Mm-hmm. And then you were out. Now, DOD has decided to come up with a standardized program across their services, across the country, that consists of 5 days. They have Department of Labor playing. They have the Veterans Administration playing. The service members are offered 3 tracks, one being academic, the other being
like looking for a school or something?
Well, going to back to school, using the GI benefits, go back to school. Right. Vocational, getting into a voc skill. And then the third one, in a formal way, is a new bird on the block, entrepreneurial track. And that's where the Boost to Business program comes in. If you elect that track, you will do 2 days of intensive training on just the concepts of going into entrepreneurship.
So it's this education thing.
It's education. After you do that, you have 8 weeks of online support with the University of Syracuse, further developing your plan. And then after that, either you separate, or if you haven't separated yet, you hook up with your local resource partners, SBDC, SCORE, and then you carry on this working on the business plan to the point where you get out and then execute your plan.
I see. You're doing a lot more online counseling now. Is that right? Are you doing it locally, you guys?
Well, we have some online programs, but we're beginning to beef that up.
Yeah.
And that is something because in terms of higher ed, and SBDCs are primarily educational institutions. Right. And people today, oftentimes they don't have time or they don't want to spend the time in the classroom. Right. And so online training is becoming more and more important, and that's something that we're currently working on. We're not there yet. With
How about the online
training.
counseling? Are there many SBDCs doing that yet? Yeah, the counseling, but doing it actually online?
Well, I'd say who's big on that. And that's SCORE.
SCORE is
very big on online counseling.
So you could get that online.
Right.
So you don't have to get dressed and come down and see
You don't have to get dressed. You could do your assignments, submit them online. And so basically, and that is great. And this area is not as pressing. Yeah. But when you get to the rural areas, where
that's
you know,
that I was gonna make.
Yeah.
You got to drive 50 miles before you.
Now I hear. I mean, there's a couple of women's organizations in the SBA too. I mean,
we have no women's organizations. We service everyone. We service everyone.
Yeah, but I mean, the special things for women that are set up. What are they?
Well, basically, as we mentioned before, you have the Women's Business Centers.
Yeah. How is that different from an SBDC?
Just the focus.
Yeah.
Just the focus on women. Now, technically, when I tell people when I'm out speaking, I say, speak about the Women's Business Center. And guys, if you're secure in your manliness, you can
go there. I see.
Can go. Now, if
I think it's a great place.
Okay.
If you're looking
and basically, let's face it, this goes back to a time when women were just first entering in. They did not have any real experience. Yeah. Whereas you might expect a man might have been in a managerial position, and now he's branching out into entrepreneurship. Yeah. They didn't have that. So they did the same thing. Yeah. And so now, as the years have gone by, women, of course, are reaching managerial, the highest levels of managerial
They're
levels.
Actually starting more businesses now than men.
But that's right. More of them in college also.
Yeah.
But it's still a women-centric, and they deal with it more holistically. You tend to get a hug if you go to a women's business center. Darrell's not giving out any hugs.
We don't give hugs.
The other thing that they look at is, no, seriously though, the other thing they look at is more. They concentrate more on work-life balance, family balance. Yeah. When they give their courses, they're very concerned about the well-being of the family, so they often wrap in daycare with it. So
I mean, in the courses, they'll have daycare at the courses?
They'll have daycare.
Wow.
They'll have
that's cool.
So it's that perspective.
That's just good.
Yeah.
And then the other program that we have for women's, about 3 years old now, is the Women-Owned Small Business Program.
Which is?
Well, basically, it's a contracting program. Contracts are set aside specifically for women-owned small businesses. Yeah. Initially, in fact, the National Defense Act of this year took the cap off of the contract cost.
Which means?
Prior to that, you could only do contracts for manufacturing up to $6.5 million. For all other contracts, the contract caps was $4 million. So you couldn't have a women-owned small business set aside greater than $4 million. That was just they just took them off.
Wow, no
kidding.
They
just took them off.
That's
so
cool.
That is the other major program that we have going on for women.
And SBDC investment companies, are they?
SBICs.
SBICs, yes. Are they big at SBA? Is that a big part of your business?
That is a niche market.
That is a niche market?
That is a niche market.
Yeah.
Most people figure SBA gives out loans, which is not the case. We guarantee loans. But people figure I'm going to walk up and just get an SBA loan and everything's going to be wonderful. Then they go to the bank and reality hits. Basically, SBICs are venture capitalists. And they are very particular. Yeah. You have to really have your act together. Right. You don't come half-stepping because ultimately – they get the proposals. They throw out every 95 out of 100.
They're getting married, man.
And basically, not only married, they're going to come in. If you need managerial assistance, they're going to give it to you. Yeah. And the bottom line is they're looking to cash out in 5 to 7 years. Yeah. And if this doesn't look like a good deal,
your butt.
That's right. So basically,
but SBA gives them a bunch of money, and they put up the other money.
Right, they do. Yeah, but still, this is not just for everybody. You really have to be sophisticated. You really have to have your act together.
This is the VC game, right?
That's right. I mean, this is not for mom and pop.
Put up 19, Eric. Let me. Show this is some old data because I was trying to get the new data today and they've changed the data sources on me and it's so hard. But everybody says, well, they're looking at money for a business or whatever and they want to get a loan or grant. And could you let us see that data? It's covered here. There it is, yeah. And like I said, but I mean, SBA, I think the numbers are a little lower now. I mean, you're like 50 to 100,000 people a year get SBA loans. About $3-4 billion. I think that's lower now too. But and to me, I don't know why people even bother with contracts is the name of the game. You have 4 million people a year are getting government contracts.
Well, let me help you. Let me help you with the numbers. Basically, last year we did $22 billion. $22 billion worth of loan approvals last year. Yeah. And last year was the second best year ever.
Oh, really? Oh, good for you guys.
And that was coming back. And after this year, locally, and I believe nationally also, but locally I know we're above last year's pace.
So you're going to be bigger. Huh?
So we're going to be better. But the bottom line is, everybody looks at their own navel.
Yeah, right.
And so in D.C., it's all about the contract.
Absolutely.
And I said navel to be nice.
Yeah.
But it's all about the contracts in D.C. But elsewhere, the money facilitates everything else: expansion, inventory.
It does, but it's also, to me, to learn that system, and you're learning to get an SBA loan or a grant or something, that's like a one-time process in a way. You learn to get a contract. I mean, that's like elephant hunting, man. You got meat for a long time. I mean, that's stuff that you could use leverage of that skill to learn how to do that forever.
Well, but you have to remember also that the competitive process involved in contracting.
Yeah, but everything's
competitive. It is competitive.
And I think also is with regard to that is the fear. Mm-hmm. A lot of young entrepreneurs who are interested in government contracting or procurement, they've got to sort of get over that fear hurdle.
Fear of
the process.
Right, exactly.
Fear of the process.
But I say, so what if it takes you 6 months to figure it out?
Well, but there's something else that you have to also remember. It's the cost of the process. Okay.
The time.
It is money is time.
Money
is time. Is money.
Right.
And so basically, I worked for a support contractor when I first retired from the military, and their goal was to have a 30% hit rate. So for every 10 contracts, they were looking to get 30. Other companies have a higher. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, if you're really good, you only bid on the stuff you're going to win.
Right.
Okay? But most people don't have that.
You're going to ask the girls out, you're going to say yes.
Thank you. Absolutely. So bottom line is most young companies don't have that
don't
kind
know
of
that
time.
yet, yeah.
And so they're just looking at any old thing.
Well,
and after a while, you're expending a lot of resources and you're not making any money.
Yeah, but
that's what
life.
holds you.
Do you have to do
Well,
that
but see,
shit?
but wait. But
How
remember
else you going to live?
But remember, too, historically, the two major detriments to a new firm, lack of capital, lack of management expertise.
Yeah.
And if you're coming in light, going into the federal arena is a costly endeavor.
Well, that's why, to me, it's how do you do that without spending a lot of money? See, that's to me. If you're going out and starting a business, whatever, we all know a billion ways to spend money, but how do we do not to spend money? By the way, we just talked away. I want to get George in here. This is our entrepreneur, George and Univokyu. Is that right, George? Did I say it right?
Halfway there.
Here he comes. Here's George. Here he is. George is joining us. He's an entrepreneur I met the other day who has a small publishing firm now, and this is his new idea called the Media Lounge, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's one of the ideas, or you want to get a little closer to the mic, maybe. Yeah. So I thought maybe you could give us a minute or two on what your idea is, and maybe we could help you, give you some brainstorming ideas here on what the heck to do next.
Well, the idea is very simple, actually. Taking the fact that we've been all working virtually with my team of photographers, designers, bloggers, the key was to
From the magazine, you mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To find a way to bring them all together in a fun environment. I remember our office in Charlotte, North Carolina, downtown, they all hated going there. It was just white lights, small office space, but they will all be more productive if they went back home or if they went back to a Starbucks and work in there.
Right.
So pretty much I've just said, well, what if we had a place where obviously, that works well with the magazine, not only that, but also bring a good talent together we can use from a production work to just working on itself on the publication. This is pretty much a concept that we came in with, obviously looking at different area from Florida, DC, Chicago. So Anna's Morgan just seemed like the perfect place to do so because of his gentrification and also his diversity when it comes to cultural and the surround of different colleges around. So this is what I've been working into for the past few months here, and which I'm looking for the right team together. I was listening to you gentlemen talking about what not to do. I definitely have a business plan. I do have a business plan. Yes, I've learned that money is not the savior, but no, management is the key. Right. Location is very important. So
and also understanding your competitors.
Absolutely.
You may have some other folks that are out there doing the same thing that you're doing or something similar, and you need to know who they are, where they are, and what they're doing, and how what you're doing is different or unique from what they're doing, and that's important to know.
Market research, like you said.
That's market research.
Absolutely.
Exactly right.
And we did spend some time also looking and surrounding. Again, this is why we chose Adams Morgan. There's nothing like it, but also the fact that there's format allows us to work directly with with local colleges and not only look at it as okay, well, what we benefit out of it, but how can we actually bring talented mind that don't have the opportunity. I mean, I've been working on this for the past 2 years and a half, and I know how hard it is to have a great idea and really not having people see the vision until you literally put all the pieces together and they're, oh, okay, well, that's what he was talking about. So it's been a built-in process from starting with an online publication with actually starting in Spanish. Then it morphed into let's put more lifestyle together. Then from there went to bilingual automotive. So it has been a metamorph of what those advertisers or sponsors care about, and all the no's help you.
But the space, is that going to be, you're going to release space to cool people, or is it just for your own people in your business?
It's going to be a multi-usage space. Obviously, I've learned that we don't need that much space for your guys. For my guys. No, it's a small team of 9, but also utilizing part of the space as a design area, photography floor. It also allows us to have the space to train people to come in there and insurance, for example, work with us. So as a publication, as a media group that we are setting up, any content created is good content. As I say, any advertising, good content. So the space itself will be shared as well. We can lease some of the space, just like any other studio, to if any photographer, any freelancer want to use some of the space, as long as the time it's not been used, we'll have a rate sheet for those two as well. But our primarily objective is for us to use the space for our own goal, publication, lifestyle show that we're developing. And then secondary objective is to use the space, for educational purposes. And obviously the remaining time we balance between freelancers that also, want to have their own space without having to go through the burden of having to sign a lease and taking all the responsibility upon themselves.
The only thing I would like to just caution you about is that it all comes down to the money.
Absolutely.
And so basically, the research is a portion of your business plan. But ultimately, you're trying to monetize the internet. You're trying to monetize this area. The credibility is going to be, does the situation you envision really exist? And can it be monetized? So to the degree that you have to sit down and come up with your pro forma statements, which would go month by month for the first 12 months, and then after that, year by year after that, you have to, that's where the whole argument is either won or lost. Because right now, this is just words, but you have to be able to show someone what your source of funds are going to be month by month by month by month. And, back in the green room, you're mentioning that you were living on ether there for a while, so that if you stand this up, let's face it, it's not going to be profitable the first month. It's not going to be profitable the second month. It may be a year before you turn a profit.
You're lucky.
If you're lucky. And so can you sustain yourself? Do you have a yolk sack that's going to sustain you through that whole process? And the whole deal, and I'll turn it over to you after this, Darrell, but the whole deal is that the business plan is designed to be the place where you experiment on paper. You be as rigorous as you can. You be as skeptical as you can. And don't just say, I'm going to change this unless you can actually change the environment. Because it's a lot easier just to see this. A great business plan is one where you go through all the permutations and then you realize it doesn't work. And then you just walk away from it, as opposed to sinking money into it and then realizing it doesn't work.
Right. I mean, to piggyback on what Theo is saying, and this is not to criticize you at all.
He gets enough of that at home.
But I get a lot of that at home.
But what entrepreneurs have to really understand, embedded within their business plan, is the nature of their risk. Because that's what banks are looking at. Banks, you may have a great idea, but if banks aren't comfortable with the risk, then financing becomes a problem. Okay, and so as the entrepreneur, you must first understand the nature of your risk, and you must be able to articulate that, and you have to do that first in your business plan. And if you can't articulate the nature of your risk, then that's a problem. And until you can do that, then you're gonna struggle. You're gonna have impediments in front of you.
And let me add another thing. I did time. I did time as
after
the
military or before?
I did time as the acting district director of the LA district office. And once upon a time, the SBA actually financed films.
Oh, wow.
I know. It was a brief period of time.
Yeah.
We did it for maybe 2 years, and then we got out of that. But there was a totally different mindset behind how you do a film than how you do everything else that we do, okay? And my point is, in D.C., banks don't feel the vibe. This is more of a traditional nuts and bolts type of town, whereas if you go to another city, particularly something like L.A., you find a lot more, quote-unquote, creative people.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing to think about is, what are your sources of funds? Are you thinking about going to a bank? Then you have to think about their sensibilities. Mm-hmm. If your daddy's going to give you the money, then hell, you just make him happy. If you're going to get other investors, well, then you have to figure what their side is.
20.
But just consider that, though.
Look at this slide here. I got SBA loans. What the SBDCs have done this past year. You guys, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you did it across the street here, but you did about $4 billion of loans and equity for small businesses. And only 36% was from traditional banks, 55% from angel investors, family, friends, and venture capitalists. And this was interesting. Only 19% was from SBA-backed loans, of the clients that come in.
Well, here's the thing on that, Matthew. The SBA loans are there as a financial alternative. Okay, we do not necessarily steer our clients.
You're not a salesman for him.
Right. We provide the options for them, and those options have to make sense once again into their business plan. And so we look at the whole gamut. We look at SBA loans. We look at commercial banks.
God, we ran out of time, man.
Well, just real quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick. But just understand this. We don't compete against the banking industry.
That's right.
Oh, I know.
We only make loans when everybody else won't.
Yeah, but you're helping the banking industry.
But you still have the same. You still have the same stipulation of the banking industry.
But still. One other point about SBA, my understanding is, particularly like in this town, is that you really have to be at the right bank for an SBA loan.
And
that understands your business.
Well, that too. Plus the fact we put out a listing of the banks that do business with us.
Yeah.
Actually, we have approximately 135, 136 banks that are authorized to do business with us. At this point in time, with about 6 months going into the year, maybe 50 of them have actually let alone. And you can look at the list and tell who the most active banks are.
And let me add one little piece to that. You have to understand what industries banks are comfortable with. Yeah. Okay,
so who could tell you that?
Loan officer.
The loan officer, or you guys could help or not?
Well, you can contact my office.
Yeah.
Robert Carpenter.
Okay. He's not awake. That's right.
And Bob Carpenter can tell you.
He could point you what banks are.
Which bank.
Great. Well, that's our time. God, well, thank you so much. And listen, you guys, thank you for spending your Sunday here trying to help some folks. I hope that was helpful to you, George, and everybody else listening. You never know. And let's run that 5-minute thing. Yeah. And we'll see you next week. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye now.
Okay, so you're Adam Totkin? Is that how you say it, Adam?
Totkin.
And a great website you have, too. Crowdfunding thing. How long have you been at the crowdfunding?
We've been working on the website for about 4 months, and we just launched 2 verticals for the website, Get Funded and Get Gay Funded. Get Funded being for crowdfunding for animals, and Get Gay Funded for the LGBT community.
So the Get Funded is just for animals. So if you got a sick pet, or you're trying to save stray cats or something like that.
Exactly.
Really?
People's out there, a couple $100 could save their life, put it in a good home, get out of a kill shelter, and it's really people to find funds to do that with, so the animals don't have to die.
Wow. And so you only been about 3 months, so you don't have a lot of war stories yet, but do you have anybody you could share with me on the animal stuff?
Yeah, we've saved a few dogs. One dog was removed from a kill shelter in California, and it found a home on the East Coast, and it required about $600 to save it and transport it across the country, and we were able to raise those funds to do it.
Really? So you raised $600 to take a dog from California to go to the East Coast? Is that it?
There's a family who could provide a good home for the dog.
I see.
To transport it, and we're able to place it in a home before it was killed.
Wow. Oh, this is great work. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, is encourage people to do stuff in life, and that's what's neat about, sites like yours, crowdfunding. I mean, this is a place where people can get, the help to solve problems they have in their neighborhood.
A lot of families out there, we know this economy is not as great as they portray it today.
Right.
A lot of families who can't afford to keep their pets, and they've been able to find help through Get Funded to get the funds to be able to feed the pet and their kids at the same time.
Wow. And the other one is an LGBT one, right?
Yes, Get Gay Funded.
So that's a gay funded. And what kind of stuff? I mean, what, are these special problems just for gays?
Well, the LGBT community has found that in the crowdfunding world, a lot of existing sites out there have not allowed their projects on. While they have reasons for the rejection, they've rejected due to their terms of services. And if you go on some of the major ones and type in the word gay, 1 or 2 projects out of hundreds of.
I see.
So we wanted to create a site. It actually started with someone who's working with us now. His mother passed away, and